So it's been a little over 6 months since we got our Tesla Model 3 Performance. Time for a 6-month ownership review. So I'll break this into a bunch of sections. We'll talk about a variety of different things about the car, how it's holding up, talk about some of the positives and things that I'm really enjoying with it to start, some of the negatives, and wrap it all up. So I think it makes sense to kind of start with the wear and tear. How is the car kind of overall holding up? And I would say, I guess compared to other vehicles that I've had in the past, overall pretty good. The paint's taken a few nicks. We have a red, of course, and there's white marks around the front of the car, a couple white marks on the hood where we've had some rocks hit, some chips, and it dug the paint, chipped the paint right through there. There's getting to be a couple of spots inside where the soft materials especially are starting to get kind of like scuffed, and marks have been left behind that you really can't wipe off anymore. They're just there. I see like streaks and lines in the gear selector here, for example, and in some other places. A little bit of the soft goods on the back of the steering wheel have kind of unraveled in a little piece. So, minor imperfections like that. We did have the whole seat control panel of the driver's seat fall off. Mobile service took care of that. Wasn't a big deal. I made a couple separate videos on that when it happened. I am starting to hear some creaks and noises driving, basically the connections of like the pillars and the materials and stuff like that rubbing. Sometimes I hear it, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I hear it a little more than other times. So that one's pretty variable. But overall, I think it's good. We never did change the floor mats. We've been using the car with the cloth floor mats. We did that through the entirety of a Michigan winter, and I think they've held up pretty good. I wipe the car out pretty regularly. We vacuum it out pretty regularly. Try to keep it clean. I do try to keep it nice. But, no matter what, it's going to wear. We're a family of 4. I've got a couple kids. They're hard on it. I got my daughter getting out of the car with soccer cleats. All that stuff's going to happen. It's going to happen to any car. So I guess the main thing to say about it that is I don't think there's anything quality, wear and tear, imperfections that are out of ordinary for probably any vehicle. And my other frame of reference is our now 10-plus-year-old Explorer, which has no shortage of nicks and tears and wears and noises and looseness and broken things. By any accounts, this getting in this still feels to me, even 6 months plus later, like a brand new car, comparatively speaking to our Explorer. But I'm happy. I don't have a problem with that part of the vehicle at all. The one thing that it was a bit of a surprise to me, and it has been a bit of a bummer, is just basically adapting to the idea that I need to drive this car and baby it more like a full-on sports car. It's not an SUV. It's not a Y. It's a performance trim car. It sits low. It's got those big tires. And so it definitely was a pain, basically losing 4 tires through the wintertime here. We lost 1 on the first pothole. We lost 2 on the second pothole. And then just recently picked up a screw in a tire too close to the sidewall, had to be replaced again. So I've gotten really well acquainted with the tire replacement process on the car, and I'll make a separate video on that. I think I've figured out kind of the best way if you need tires for your Tesla, the best way, the preferable way to go about getting them. So look for that coming up. Yeah, overall, you just got to be careful with this car, particularly in this performance trim. It can't really hit a hole very well. It definitely gave up a lot of stability and traction and all of that with stock tires and stock setup in the wintertime with some snow and ice. So now that we kind of know that, having been through one winter, we'll be able to kind of calibrate ourselves going into next winter. So if there's snow on the ground, when the roads get really bad, much as we might want to drive this car more often anyway, or me in particular, I'll just park it and I'll be more inclined to drive our Explorer or whatever SUV replacement we get for the Explorer at some point in time. So it was a learning process. It cost me a couple $1,000 in tires, but such it is. The one thing that's a bummer, it's kind of a catch-22, because on the one hand, I'm very glad that the rims survived the potholes. two big potholes hard enough to blow out tires and multiple tires, and it didn't bend the rims, it didn't damage the rims to the point that we had to replace them. I shudder to think at what one of these rims might cost from a replacement perspective. But at the same time, now these front rims are really scuffed up, and that really sucks. So it is. We bought it, we own it. It's going to get some damages, it's going to get some nicks. I actually scrubbed one of the rims, aside from the pothole hits. I stupidly scrubbed it on a right-hand turn on a curb in our neighborhood. That was the first little scrape that it had. So maybe at some point in time, I'll look to see, like, can we go to one of those places that can kind of clean up the rim, do a little touch-up work or something on it, make it look relatively new again. But as it is, last time we had the car in for the tire replacement, the screw replacement, I just had Tesla put the two kind of scuffed and damaged rims on the front of the car, figuring let's just put the ones that are already tweaked up on the front where they're likely to hit whatever is going to hit them next. So if those continue to get damaged, eventually, right, we'll get them touched up, or if it comes to it, rim replacement. But again, I don't think that any damage that these rims suffered is out of model with what would have happened to rims on any other car that would have hit the same stuff or scuffed the same curbs and such. So nothing out of model. That's on us. Don't hit potholes, don't run into curbs, right? So something that I expected to be very pleased with, and reality has shown that I am, is just the technology basically of this car. In the time that we've had it, I don't even know, I want to say just anecdotally that we've probably had a dozen software updates, and included in those updates has been UI changes, UI improvements, operational improvements, new features, goofy fun features that were added in the toy box, and just general improvements to the car all the way around. That was, I'm a techie guy, right? Tech enthusiasm. I'm a computer guy. I like updates to things that I own. I like software. I love I like the fact that software can make things better over time. And this is, like, I think, the epitome of that in an automobile. I don't think anybody else is doing improvements and whatever to their vehicles at the level that Tesla is. And so I look forward to that. I look forward to this car continuing to get more stuff, adding more features, adding more capability, improving, everything that it already does as well. So aces there and two big thumbs up. Definitely got what I was looking for in that respect. And who doesn't, is it ever going to get old making your car sound like an ice cream truck and driving through a neighborhood, having everybody like come out of their houses? And the other thing that I was really looking forward to with this car that kind of proved to be the case, being able to be in the car, have the car on, do things in the car when you're somewhere. So we've got a couple of kids, they've got activities through the wintertime, taking my daughter to soccer practice when you couldn't go in the building. You can sit outside in a gas-powered car and not run it so that you're not burning gas and you're not exhausting out, or you can run it and do that stuff. But taking this thing, sitting in the car, turn the heater on, run the internet on the car. You got the big screen, entertainment, all that stuff. It's comfortable through the warmer times, being able to wait at a practice. It's hot out, it's getting dark, mosquitoes are coming out. We'll roll the windows up, turn the AC on, just chill there. You're gonna burn a couple percent of your battery, but you're all good. So I really like those elements of it. And in fact, I just wrote kind of my bullet points for this review, and I'm literally filming it at my daughter's practice, windows up, air conditioning on, 80-degree late spring day here. It's awesome. I can do all of this stuff in here, get things done, be functional in a way that I think surpasses other vehicles and non-Tesla, non-EV style vehicles that we have and that we had before. I would really call this thing, it's a mobile command center. It's connected, it's online, you can use all of the features, and you can do it with just such like a freedom that's so slick. So in terms of driving this thing, I did want to go back to a car again. We had an Alfa Romeo Stelvio for about 3 years before having this, and our other car is a full-size Ford Explorer. So we've been used to driving SUVs, CUVs in our household. With the acquisition of this vehicle, we were looking more at cars, thinking like, okay, let's kids are getting a little bit bigger. We don't need like all the same car seat. We have a car seat back there, but not to the same level. We don't need two of them and stuff anymore. Our family can support a car, a sportier car, a fun to drive car. And so that's why we went after the 3, and that's why we spent up to get the performance. It was going to get a long range for sure anyway, and it really wasn't that much more to go all the way to the performance model, make it feel like a sports car. We got it in red. I think it looks great. I think it drives great. It's fun. I'll never need a faster car. And most of the time, this thing is way faster than it needs to be on any just regular road. As it is, if I'm sitting at a light or just sitting somewhere and I floor this thing down to the pedal, my body like can't even take it. I get tunnel vision and my stomach drops and I feel like I'm on an amusement park ride, which I can't do for fear of motion sickness and all of that stuff. So this thing has more capability than I even can realize with my body before I just got to tip off the accelerator pedal and say, all right, yeah, that was fun, but that's kind of enough for me. But still, it's spirited. It drives nice. I generally keep it in sport mode for everything. Sport mode acceleration, sport mode steering, and that's comfortable to me. Steering feels responsive. It feels heavier. It feels reactive. And of course, again, acceleration is there. I've never been in a situation where I've had to like really go hard on the brake, no accident avoidance or whatever, such that like the brakes failed me. So for my driving and our use, it's all good. I haven't tracked the car. I don't know if I ever will, or if that opportunity might present itself. I think that could be fun to try it at some point, but I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. I already bought enough tires from the potholes as it is. I don't need to buy more tires, wearing them out probably on a track. So since we've had the ability to experience it, I'll generally give thumbs up and props to Tesla service. We had mobile service out for a couple of different things, fixing the seat panel, installing the garage door opener, and mobile service. The whole concept of mobile service is just insane. It's so good. Being able to not have to worry about taking the car somewhere, just being home working. Yeah, they're coming, they do what they need to do on the car, you get them all set, and then they're on their way, and you're all set. Especially when there's not that many Tesla service centers around. So in Southeast Michigan, we basically have one. It's in Clarkston, about a 45-minute side street focused drive from Clarkston. So quite honestly, it really is a bummer to have to go there for problems and service. And when we lost the tires and stuff on the potholes, we did have the car taken there to be serviced, which meant we had to drive there after the fact to go pick it up. And that's a bit of an undertaking. It's a couple hours for us to get up there and get back, depending on the day of the week and the time of day and whatnot. But overall, like, dealing with the folks with Tesla service has been positive. Being able to interact with them through the app when your vehicle is in for service or scheduled for service is just easy and great. And the times that I have interacted with the service folks, but we needed some more communication or we needed to work something out, they've called and have been attentive, and that's been mostly good. I'll veer off here and say, with the service, the second time we had the car in for tires, they actually didn't have the tires to replace on the car, but they didn't tell us that. And so the car sat there for about a week and a half. We're kind of waiting for updates, started asking for updates, and it's like, oh, we don't have the tire. You should probably go try to find the tire somewhere else, and then we'll put it on for you. It's like, well, okay, thank you. I would have liked to have known that a week and a half ago. But on the positive side, that led to actually getting the tires not from Tesla, but from Tire Rack, which has worked out immensely better overall, and something that I would generally recommend if you need them. I'll make a separate dedicated video on that, like what happens if you lose a Tesla tire, and maybe a preferable way to go about getting it replaced and protecting you a little bit better for further damage and further problems with tires on your Tesla. So look for that coming in the future here pretty soon as well. So something else I really like about the car, of course, is the app. In our household, we use Apple devices, iPhones, iPads. I think the app is just awesome. There's so much capability in there to access the car, command and control the car. The kids need something out of it. You don't have to give them a key and give it back. You just pull up your phone, boop, it's unlocked. Go get your hoodie or whatever, open the trunk, grab your soccer bag, whatever you need. That's great. It's a hot day, it's a cold day, you're getting ready to go somewhere, open up the phone, turn on the HVAC, right? Set that up, you get in the car, it's nice and comfortable. And I know other cars are starting to get kind of that level of connectivity and such as well, but I think it's hit or miss in a lot of models, and that technology side of things is just cohesive with Tesla, that it's just massive, massive thumbs up overall. And part and parcel, or in parallel to the car getting regular updates and adding features and capabilities, the app has been the same thing. There's been new interfaces, new ways of accessing the app, the shortcut, the widget, and most recently they just enabled, finally, I guess, just better charge tracking and charge history and cost saving analysis, right, for electricity versus gas. I still need to get that set up, and I will be making a separate video as well about like what do we think we've actually saved by having the electric vehicle versus what an equivalent car or something else we might have bought might have cost us in gas. I'll break that down in a little more detail in a separate one. Suffice it to say, I don't think it's earth-shattering. You don't buy a $65,000 car like this, or a $100,000 plus car like the S's and the X's are, to save gas. Like, come on, be realistic. You're buying these cars because you want these cars, because they're fun, they're new, they're a different type of technology. They have all of this stuff packed in, right? All of those other things. The savings, it's not a purchase based on the economics of the savings. If you want to save money, go buy a cheaper car and put gas in it. So I should mention as well that as much as I love the tech of the car, there's a couple real cutting edge features in it that I find like I basically just never use. So auto steer, I found out fairly quickly early on that auto steer does its best to maintain lane stability, and so it basically centers itself and it drives itself down the center of a lane. That's probably great if you live in like California or somewhere where it's nice and warm and temperate all the time, and your roads aren't like a pitted, bombed out mess like Michigan. I don't want my car just driving itself down the center of the lane, because half the time it's going to barrel over debris, it's going to barrel over holes, and so that in this part of the country, this state, whatever this part of the state, it doesn't really work very well unless you want your car to just roll over everything that's sitting damaged in the road or sitting in the road or whatever. There's just too much steering around things, and the car doesn't account for that. The vision system doesn't look for holes and avoid them. It looks for big obstacles, but it doesn't notice small debris and do anything about it. So I can probably, in the last few months, I can probably count on one hand, don't even need, barely a couple of times or whatever, that I've even engaged auto steer and used it. I did just actually use it the other weekend. It was late. We were coming home from a family's house. I was tired, and we were actually on a Michigan freeway that was smooth and clear and like reliably in good shape. And so in that case, man, I loved it. I boom, hit auto steer, autopilot on, just kind of, sit back in the seat, kept my hand on the steering wheel, not going to sleep or anything stupid like people do in these cars sometimes, paying attention, but just being able to just chill and let the car do its thing for that half an hour on the freeway. That was pretty sweet. But aside from that instance, I don't think that I can remember the last time that I actually used that feature before that. And I find I don't even use like the adaptive cruise mode. You can tap down on the stalk once to basically get the equivalent of adaptive cruise. 2 gets you the full autopilot auto steer. And I use adaptive cruise in my Explorer constantly. And I like it, and I think it works pretty well for what is actually like a decade-old system. For a 10 plus year old vehicle, it came with adaptive cruise. I think it was one of the first cars from Ford that did. But in any case, I almost find that the Ford adaptive cruise in that older car works a little better than the Tesla one, in terms of like this thing like phantom stops and it senses things sometimes that's not the reality of the situation. cars might be on the side, or different motorcycles, other types of vehicles, and I find this to be a little unpredictable. And so, like, literally to the point a couple of times where we're going down the freeway, middle of the freeway, and then this thing starts slowing down, right? It sees something, a car goes by, it's like, no, don't slow down, go. So, hit the accelerator. So that's one of the reasons I think that I don't use it all that much, is I haven't built a lot of confidence with it, and I've seen it do some wonky things that just bother me when I'm driving. The other part, I think, though, is I just like driving the car. We bought the car version of the Tesla. We bought the 3. We bought the performance trim. When I'm in it, I don't drive all that much generally day to day. So when I'm in it, man, I want to drive. Like now I'm going to my office a little bit for work, and I got a fun little freeway loop that I can hit on. Like, I don't want the car driving that. That's like my 15 minutes to just, open it up a little bit, have some fun with it. That's maybe a testament to the fact that it's a fun car to drive, so drive it. I don't want the car to drive itself. I want to drive it. And the other thing too, I found with like the auto driving systems, I'm in a 4-weather state. A bulk of my 6-month review here happened through winter time, and snow on the ground, ice on the ground. When that stuff happens, there's so much construction around Michigan, so you never know if a lane is shifting. You got to follow the traffic movements, the construction movements, and that. And I don't trust the car to navigate all of that stuff. And I'm actually kind of surprised we haven't seen more accidents, like people using these systems, driving into a construction lane shift or something, in the car kind of going off the rails or haywire in terms of its behavior and causing an accident. That makes me just personally nervous. A couple other things I can comment on. I absolutely love not carrying a key. I really love having my phone be my key. I don't carry a key for my house. I have to carry a key fob for work, unfortunately, for the couple days that I go in. But otherwise, I leave the house, I grab my wallet, I grab my phone, and that's it. Nothing else that I need to take with me. And that's so great. Walking away from the car, it locks, shuts itself down. That's awesome. Walk back up to it. I have found a lot of jankiness, though, in being able to just walk up to the car, push on the door handle, and having the car open, where I'll have to like take my phone out of my pocket and at least look at it so that the iPhone doesn't completely unlock to the home screen, but you get the little unlock animation on the lock at the top of the phone, and then it'll open the car. And I don't know if somebody knows the specific relationship of that with the Tesla and the iPhone, feel free to sound off in the comments. But it feels like the car, if the phone's not authenticated to you, unlocked to you in at least some minimal capacity, it won't unlock the car for you. And that's fine, I guess, probably from a security perspective, but it's also kind of a pain in the butt. Like, I just want to walk up to the car and open the door, or walk up to the car and hit the button and open the trunk to put the stuff that I'm holding in, not still have to fish something out. So, the key fob that I have for my Explorer, I never take it out of my pocket. I can walk up to the car and that thing's going to work. It's going to be, near field communication. It's going to work, connect, register itself, do its thing. So it's almost a little bit of a regression. As much as it's technology forward in the Tesla, it's a little bit of a regression every time I have to walk up to the car and take out my phone in order to get the thing, to actually unlock itself. But I appreciate using the phone. I appreciate the fact that for my wife and I, we have the profiles set up. We can, she gets in the car with her phone. She's got all her seat settings and all of her driving settings and all of her preferences and stuff set. I have mine. That's awesome. I loved having bought the garage door module and being able to pull away from the house. Boom, garage is going down. Pull up to the house, garage is opening up. That's pretty slick. We haven't really bought too many other accessories. I bought the Tesla inserts for the consoles. I will buy the all-weather floor mats now, maybe next winter or this coming fall or whatever. But that's really been it. We haven't added a lot to the car. And we already had the charging infrastructure at the house. So $25 for the right NEMA adapter to be able to plug in to basically the dryer plugs that we had pre-installed in our garage. And I've just been using the mobile charging adapter that came with it. Although I think they started to take that out. That's no longer included with all the new car purchases or the new deliveries. But I've been using that fine. It's been charging fine. I have the car set to charge at 11 p.m. That's when our rates get cheaper. I charge it to 90% maximum battery nominally on a given day, unless we know we're taking a long drive or a long trip and we want that extra 10%. So following those general guidelines and recommendations has all been fine. The car is basically always at 90% in the morning or the next day when somebody's ready to leave or somebody needs to go somewhere. And that is just so phenomenal for day-to-day use, day-to-day driving, not having to worry about, I left, I needed to get here, but we didn't fill up the tank last night. You don't deal with that hassle at all in a vehicle like this, and that's pretty sweet. All right, so what don't I like? Let's go over kind of a list of things that either I just directly don't like, or some other suggestions and things maybe that I wish I had or wish the car had. So first of all, as I mentioned, we learned that we kind of have to baby this car a little bit more. It's the performance trim, the wheels, all that stuff. It's more of a performance car. It's more of a sports car. If I had a Corvette, or I had some supercar sports car, I would go into it knowing okay, I need to protect this thing, how I drive it, where I drive it, and all of that stuff. And I was thinking that we wouldn't have to do as much of that with this as we actually had to do. But now we know it's fine, and we'll really know what to expect next winter. And I can always put other tires on it. I could buy another set of wheels, put another set of tires on it for late fall and through winter if I want to. So that's kind of on me as well. That part can be remedied very easily with a little bit of money in the hassle of changing that stuff out. Something I really hope that they add is at times I'm still really jonesing to have CarPlay. I mentioned we're iPhone users, iPad users, all that stuff. I would really like to have more Apple-based services on this thing. In my opinion, Apple Maps, navigating on our phone, sometimes the GPS in this car, Google Maps, whatnot, will not be that great, will not work that great. And so we'll pull up our phone and navigate, and we'll get a better route, or whatever that might be. So I hope that they still find a way to bring CarPlay into here. And in lieu of CarPlay, I could go without CarPlay if we at least get Apple Music. Get Apple Music, get Apple Podcasts. Let me sign in to my Apple account so I can get access to my playlist, support the lossless quality music and stuff, and the Dolby Atmos music, right? This car, the sound system in this car is phenomenal. I should have mentioned that probably a little while ago. The best sounding car for phone calls and music and all of that stuff that I've ever heard, that I've ever owned for sure. Man, lossless Dolby Atmos Apple Music tooling around in here would be just sublime. So I hope that comes. I hope that comes soon. There was rumors about it back several months ago, when we bought the car. It hasn't come yet. They have added some other services and media stuff to the car. So yeah, Apple, I would want music and podcast. I use Apple Podcast. It would be awesome to have both of them in tandem, together. I would have very, very much liked an option to have seat coolers. I sit in these seats and I sweat. I don't think that's a byproduct specific to Tesla. My Explorer has seat coolers through the warmer months. I turn them on all the time. My body runs warm. I tend to run kind of sweaty, especially when it's hot out. I would really like to have seat coolers. I wish that had been an option. I would have bought them. I would have paid extra for them if they were available in this vehicle or in this trim or whatnot. So bummer there. I think that they could also do a little more with the Frunk, fully insulate it, make it a hot cold cooler kind of thing. Let me put drinks in it and let them stay cold. This is a really cool car for going and picking up takeout, which we've done a lot of right through COVID and whatever. And so being able to get food from a restaurant, all bagged up, pizzas, whatever, the Frunk is perfect for that stuff. You can put it in there. It's not a super big area, so stuff isn't going to jostle around and spill. And so we use it for that all the time. And I think there's a missed opportunity to basically turn that into more of a hot cold cooler, and even put a way in there to drain it. Let me go into a tailgate or something like that. Let me throw a bag of ice in there and put put some drinks and beverages and stuff in there, but give me a way to drain the water and just let it spill out onto the ground or something. That'd be pretty cool. I think that would have some legs in the uniqueness and such of that feature if they did more kind of with the front. But as it is, we put food in there all the time, and it works really well for that. In terms of the car itself too, I would say I'm generally pleased with it. I do like the way it looks. There's a couple angles where I think it maybe doesn't look super great, like the straight maybe on the side view, but the front view, or like kind of the quarter angled view, I think the car looks sweet. I think it looks, particularly in red, it looks like a hot high-end sports car. And so I'm glad we got the black interior. The red on black, white would have been, I think, a disaster. And so I'm very, very glad that we didn't get the white. But I think they've got some room for improvement in the styling. I think the face needs something a little more. It's just open and plain. Even if it's non-functional, just put some black accenting or something else kind of on the front. So some minor tweaks, and they could make this car look a lot more interesting, a little stronger, a little meaner, I guess you could say. Soup it up a little bit more, especially in the performance trim. And then the other thing that I would have liked them to do with this car is it just made it a hatchback. It would have been much more convenient, storage-wise, accessibility, trunk, and all that stuff if this vehicle were a hatch. Whether that could be an option or they do something, they just make them all hatches in the future. The utility of that is so good. So that would have been the other thing. If I could change whatever on the car wholesale, that would be something else I would probably change. As well as having a HUD. I've gotten completely used to like looking over to the side, looking at the screen to see how fast I'm going, glancing for the vision system state and the maps and so on. But it would be really nice to just at least have a speedometer up projected into the windshield. I think they have that on some of the other cars. For a long range 3 or a performance 3, that would be another thing that would have been very nice to have. Overall, I think I'm happy with the car. It's met a lot of my expectations. It's exceeded some of them. When we were in the thick of buying all those tires in the wintertime and understanding that, like, okay, this really, in this trim, this vehicle, as is stock, really isn't a winter car. I was bumming on it a little bit, the kind of the reality of that, but now we know, we've kind of accepted it. There are so many other virtues to this vehicle. It feels so advanced. It feels it's cool. It's fun. It has so many conveniences. I look forward to seeing how it grows and evolves, and what features and extra stuff comes along in time. The way that they support the car with the software updates and the app updates and all that stuff. So much potential. I like it. I would recommend it, and have been very happy with it. Please, do you have a Tesla? Comment on it. I'm curious what you have to say. Do you have questions or things that I can answer or make some content around in future videos? Ask those in the comments as well. Otherwise, please subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Just add some general comments, share some thoughts. All that stuff helps. Look down in the description for some ways to support the channel. And thank you so much for watching.